It's your girl, the Grown Woman Gamer, and today I'm coming at you to talk about this Celtics Warriors series and my initial reactions after games 1 and 2. Before I get into that, you know what you need to do. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, comment whether you agree with me or not, and don't forget to share if you care. Game 1 was one of the more interesting finals games that I've ever witnessed. The Warriors looked to have the game under control, and obviously that fourth quarter by the Celtics was completely unexpected, with Al Horford hitting 3 after 3 after 3. Derek White played tremendously, and even Marcus Smart got in on the action, came in, and added to what was a surprising finish by the Celtics. Jason Tatum didn't shoot that well in Game 1, but Jaylen Brown had a standout performance. And to his credit, Jason Tatum made an in-game adjustment, recognizing that his shot wasn't really falling, and he distributed the ball masterfully, getting 13 assists, which was a record for him and a record for a playoff game. After Game 1, Celtics fans, I'm sure, were pretty optimistic, but the Celtics followed up a tremendous performance in Game 1 by turning the ball over almost 20 times in Game 2. If you go back to the video that I made where I talked about the 3 things the Celtics would need to do in order to win this series against the Golden State Warriors, number 1 on that list was decision making. I didn't think that the Celtics would have much trouble winning in any individual game in this series unless they didn't take care of the basketball, and that's precisely what they didn't do in Game 2, and the almost 20 turnovers that they had led to 33 points for the Warriors. In this video, I'm going to talk about what is leading to the turnovers and what adjustments I believe the Celtics can make in Game 3 in order to get things back on track. In Game 2, the Warriors had 15 steals. As I mentioned earlier, the Celtics had 18 turnovers. So it's reasonable to say that the turnovers that the Celtics had were off of Warriors steals. We will ignore those other 3 turnovers because it doesn't matter what team you have, no matter how good they are, people are going to turn the ball over 2 to 5 times in a game. That's completely normal and expected. The primary issue that I saw with the Celtics is that they went back to that style of basketball that they played in the first half of the regular season, with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown playing more one-on-one basketball. What we've learned watching the Celtics this postseason is that they're a much better team when their role players are more involved. Al Horford only took 4 shots in this game. He had 2 points on 1 of 4 shooting. He didn't have as much of a rebounding contribution, and neither did Robert Williams. Robert Williams only had 2 rebounds, and Al Horford had 8 rebounds. More rebounds than anyone else on the Celtics team, but it's worth noting that no one on the Celtics had double-digit rebounds. With the exception of a decent performance by Jason Tatum on offense, there was really nothing remarkable about what the Celtics did in this game, and they were outplayed by the Golden State Warriors in every area, defensively, offensively, strategy, coaching. On every level, the Warriors outplayed the Celtics in this game, and they deserve all the credit for decisively beating the Celtics in Game 2. As head coach Ime Udoka pointed out in his post-game interview after Game 2, turnovers have been a running theme for the Boston Celtics during the regular season and during the postseason, but in the postseason it's particularly glaring because these games truly count. Each game matters, and there is a magnifying glass on every little thing that you do right and every little thing that you do wrong. Many sports analysts are pointing out that there are a lot of great teams from the past, like the Warriors, who've lost Game 1 and have come back to sweep their opponent. But I don't think this is one of those situations, largely because if the Celtics managed the basketball well, that literally would have taken 33 points off the board from the Golden State Warriors. This tells me that if the Celtics and the Warriors are playing each other straight up without those errors, the Celtics can decisively beat the Golden State Warriors in any given game. There are many things that are not as much under your control, like whether or not you're having a good shooting night, for example. If you're having a bad night, you're having a bad night, and it's hard to shoot your way into a rhythm at this point in the season because your team doesn't have that much margin for error to allow you to take a bunch of quote-unquote bad shots in order to figure out how you can get into that shooting rhythm. But with turnovers, it's truly about decision making. It's about effectively reading your defenses. It's about communication. And this is something that the Celtics can improve immediately. They can course correct and come back and have a better showing in both Game 3 and Game 4 at home. But if I was the Celtics coach or a Celtics player, I wouldn't even be thinking about game 4. Realistically, the Celtics need to win 1 out of every 2 games, and that's how they should approach it. Go into a long diatribe about what the Celtics need to do, but the biggest thing is just reading and anticipating the defenses. While the Warriors are an excellent defensive team and they deserve all the credit for playing intelligent, strategic defense, especially given the fact that they are an undersized team, they are also limited in some ways because they're undersized. The Celtics need to recognize that there are very predictable reactions that they'll get from the Warriors in these very predictable offensive circumstances or situations, especially when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are driving to the basket. They need to preempt and prepare for how they're going to deal with the Warriors collapsing on them in the paint when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown drive, because there are some offensive opportunities that are wide open for the Celtics when the Warriors collapse. I'm 100% certain that Ime Udoka recognizes this as well, and we should see these adjustments being made in Game 3. The last thing that I'll say is this. I don't think the Celtics need to be too worried because this is an issue that any team, regardless of how great you are on paper or how bad you are on paper, can correct. As long as you're focused and conscientious with the basketball, you can correct an issue with turnovers. The Celtics have gotten this far. They've beat some pretty good teams. No team that, in my opinion, is as good as the Golden State Warriors. But this is not a situation that is completely outside of their control, and they can bounce back. But the main thing is that they win, like I said, at least 1 out of the next 2 games that they have at home. Those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for listening to my commentary. I should be coming back soon with another video. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, comment whether you agree with me or not. Don't forget to share if you care, and I'm out.